background on it. Last year, we unified all law enforcement in the Division of Law Enforcement in the Department of Natural Resources. So this officer that was involved in this officer-involved critical incident, this shooting, was with the department or with the Division of Wildlife Resources last year. Now is in the Division of Law Enforcement in DNR. So just wanted to kind of clarify that and clarify a few things there. Last night, one of our officers was involved in an officer-involved shooting. It happened in Duchesne, in the city of Duchesne. The exact address is 472 West Main Street in Duchesne. We're not going to release a lot of details because it is an ongoing investigation. But the information that I can release is that there was a couple of attempt to locates out on this vehicle. Our officer was, that happened earlier on in the evening, around 8:45, 9 o'clock. Our officer was able to locate that vehicle in Duchesne right around 10 p.m. The traffic stop happened right around 10 p.m. at that location in Duchesne. Due to the investigation, we can't release a lot of details that happened, but there were shots fired. The suspect was hit and sustained injuries, was treated on the scene. Some Duchesne County sheriff's officers arrived as well, assisted in the treatment of the subject. The subject was transported to the local hospital and later flown to the Salt Lake Valley for advanced medical care. Our officer was not injured, physically injured, and is in fairly good spirits today. One thing that I would like to add is that officer-involved shootings are difficult. They're difficult for a department. They're difficult for families of officers, for families of subjects, and it's tough all the way around. And we just don't like when these things happen, and officers don't like these things to happen. And we're glad that no officers were injured. We are hoping that the subject makes a full recovery, and that we'll go from there. But willing to take any questions if you have any questions.
So was the suspect male, female?
Male suspect, yeah.
And do you know his condition currently?
Don't know his condition currently. My understanding is that the injuries are not life-threatening, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
Why was there an attempt to locate on the vehicle? Do you have any details?
So there was 2 attempt to locates on this vehicle. The last attempt to locate was for a driving pattern. They were swerving within the lane of travel. I'm not going to let the first attempt to locate be known. We know what it is, but I'm not going to let that be known.
Was it a criminal pattern attempt to locate? First and second?
I'm not going to elaborate on that.
And can you say, was this person armed?
I can't go into that. SBI is doing the critical incident investigation, and for that purpose, I can't answer that question.
Are you allowed to say any more about what prompted the officer to fire?
I'm not, because a lot of that is I'm not aware of. When we do these officer-involved critical incidents, and the protocol is to make sure that this gets put into the hands of another department, just so there's not a conflict of interest in these investigations. So I'm not privy to a lot of that information.
What agency put out the ATO?
I think it was Duchesne County Dispatch Center.
Both times?
I believe so.
Just one officer involved?
Just one officer involved, yeah.
Is it this kind of occurrence, I'm assuming doesn't happen often in this department, are you guys prepared for things like this often?
Correct. That's a great question. We are fully certified police officers through Peace Officer Standards and Training here in the state of Utah. We train extensively on situations like this, just like any other police department does. So yeah, we take pride in training our people well and having them well equipped for these situations.
And again, you said that he was, the year before the officer was a wildlife, was in that division, and now he's in.
Correct. So just for some background, House Bill 469 2 years ago created the Division of Law Enforcement. And the easiest way to think of it is the Department of Natural Resources had 4 different divisions with law enforcement officers in them. The consolidation brought all of those officers into one division of law enforcement under the realm of the Department of Natural Resources. So one time he was with the Division of Wildlife Resources as an officer. Now he's in the Division of Law Enforcement in DNR doing the same function. So he's still investigating poaching incidents and stuff to that effect.
Can you confirm that the officer was the only one to shoot?
That is under investigation. If there was an exchange of gunfire or was it just a single officer shooting, that's still under investigation. I don't know.
And that officer was by himself, right? No backup or anything?
Correct. Yeah, it happened very quickly and very fluidly.
And is it common for your officers to assist like local agencies, or why did he make a traffic stop if it wasn't for poaching or something?
Yeah, that's a great question. Our officers are located throughout the state, and one thing that we do is have great relationship with local law enforcement there. And if there's an attempt to locate put out on some public safety issue, like someone that's weaving in traffic or other situations, we're more than happy to help out and to help solve that problem.
Can you share how many times the officer shot the suspect?
I can't. One, I don't know, and two, if I did, I wouldn't release that information.
Do you know when, I know you said the sheriff's office also came onto the scene, do you know, were they called before, after, when was that?
So the stop was initiated, like I said, the incident was very dynamic and very fluid, and deputies were on their way. One thing I do want to say is that I'm very appreciative of the relationships that we have with Duchesne County Sheriff's Office, the dispatchers that were involved, DPS and their investigations into this. It goes to show that a lot of, when a serious incident happens, law enforcement is pretty united in responding and taking care of stuff. So our department from DNR, we're very appreciative of the collaboration we have with other agencies.
And then was it a traffic stop or a stop based off an already active investigation?
It was a traffic stop made off an attempt to locate. So that was put across, and that's when our officer heard that and located it. It's fairly common. It happens quite often throughout the state for an attempt to locate to go out on suspects or vehicles or anything to that effect. And we do just like any other sworn officer does in the state, and we look for those and we address those issues as they come up.
So can you clarify the timeline, because there's been several times thrown out? When did the first attempt to locate go out, the second one, when was the traffic stop?
So I believe that the first attempt to locate happened around 8:45, and that's where the timeline has kind of been a little bit confused as to when the shooting occurred to when the attempt to locates were put out. The second one, I'm not exactly sure, but it was just after 10 p.m. when the traffic stop was initiated.
And then are you able to share the name of the officer at all?
No, I'm not.
After the traffic stop was initiated, the shooting took place, when did backup arrive? How much was into there?
I don't know the time frame between the time the shooting occurred and the backup arrived, but I do know that there was aid rendered right after the shooting occurred, one by our officer and two by the other officers that showed up on scene.
And that person was alone, right? Single accident?
Yes.
Is you mentioned your gratefulness to the other agencies that you guys work with, just in the rural parts of the state, which there are many. Just once again reiterate just how important it is that all your agencies just work together.
Yeah.
Essentially.
No, that's great. One of the things that we take pride in, and, as a state law enforcement agency, with both the counties and the cities and our federal partners, is the collaboration of working together. Especially when you're looking at rural Utah, law enforcement can be spread thin throughout there, and we've got law enforcement throughout the state, and it's important that we collaborate and we work together. When something tragic like this happens, is where the law enforcement community unites and works together to accomplish a common goal. And as a police administrator, that's very refreshing to me, and got a lot of good collaboration and a lot of good professional ties with one another.
I know you already touched on this as well, but you know, these situations are always hard for officers to be involved in and just deal with. So for you personally, what are those feelings, you know, when you see these situations happen? How do you guys handle it, you know, just as a whole? That's
a great question. Me personally, as a law enforcement chief, and most chiefs are this way, my worst fear is to lose an officer in the line of duty. I've seen it happen. And it's a fear that is deep within your soul. So when you hear and you get a call late at night that an officer had been involved in an officer-involved shooting, it's to the core. It hits you to the core. And so we just want to make sure that our folks are safe. We do it by training often, training a lot, to make sure that these situations that our officers are able to go home at night. Last night, our officer was able to go home safe at night.
Have you been in touch with that officer, and if you can say, how is he or she doing?
My deputy chief has been in touch with the officer involved. I haven't had a chance to contact him yet, but he's doing fairly well. Like I said, physically he's not injured, but whenever an incident like this happens, it takes a toll on you. It takes a toll on the family as well. So right now, on a department standpoint, we want to make sure he's okay, what he's doing. State Bureau of Investigations is doing the investigation part of that. We're pretty much hands off on that investigation due to conflicts of interest. But we just want to make sure that our officer has the resources that he needs to manage this situation that no officer wants to be involved in.
Is it the typical administrative leave until after?
Correct. Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, he'll be on the, as per policy and protocol, he'll be on administrative leave until further notice and the investigation's completed. Our hopes is that it goes quickly, and we, depending on the outcome, we can get him back to work as quick as possible, but that's to be seen.
And then will you guys be releasing the name of the victim?
We won't be. We'll be in collaboration once again with DPS on what that's going to look like in the future, but at this point we will not.
You may have already said this, but who's handling the investigation?
Utah Department of Public Safety, State Bureau of Investigations. Anything else? Alex is giving me the thumbs up, so I think we're good. One other thing is any other information that's going to come out will come from Captain Chase Peely through your emails and lines of communication. But as you guys are well know, that when we have an officer-involved shooting, sometimes there's silence for quite some time. So thanks for coming. Appreciate what you guys do.